Yo, what's up guys, it's King Sean here, and the Senior Bowl just ended, so in today's video, I want to talk about some Senior Bowl standouts that the Commanders could target in the 2025 NFL Draft. But before we get into today's video, make sure y'all leave a like down below, subscribe if you're not already subbed up, and turn on notifications. Alright, so I want to talk about 5 players that really stood out this week from the Senior Bowl, and player number 1 is Mike Green. He's the guy that, in my opinion, really gained the most intrigue going into the Senior Bowl, man. He put up a career year at Marshall this past season, had about 17 sacks, I'm pretty sure, which ranked atop of the nation. There were some questions surrounding him coming into the Senior Bowl. You know, what would he weigh in at? Because he is more of a smaller D end. However, he did weigh in at 251. I think people thought he was maybe a little bit lighter than that, but 251 is a good, weigh-in for him. He may even weigh more when the combine comes around, which is about 2 to 3 weeks from now. But yeah, that's a pretty good size for him. You could say that he's a little bit undersized, 6'3", 251. However, in my mind, that's like a comparable size to like a guy like Will Anderson Jr. or even a guy like Bryce Huff with the Eagles, right? I would say Will Anderson Jr. I'm pretty sure Anderson came out at like 6'3", 254, right? So Mike Green really isn't that far off from Will Anderson Jr. there. But Green has very, very good traits, and he showed it out this week. Has great speed, great burst off the line of scrimmage. He uses his speed as power, really, to beat tackles, and he has a really good pass rush back, in my opinion. The one area that people have been critiquing in his game is his run-stopping game, and I watched a bit of his film a couple of days ago, and I feel like, not the greatest at stopping the run. However, I don't think he's as bad at stopping the run as a lot of people make him out to be, right? Like, I feel like at times he was pretty good at setting the edge and making stops in the run game. So I don't think he really was as bad as people, were saying when it came to him stopping the run, right? I didn't think it was that bad on film. Obviously, he could improve at that, but it really wasn't that bad on film when I watched this film, right? So he had a great week. Like I said, he showed off his speed, his quickness off the line, his power, his many different pass rush moves. So really liked what I saw from Mike Green this week. Only practiced the first 2 days, didn't practice on day 3 because he did enough in the first 2 days where he just didn't really have to practice on the last day. And he didn't play in the game because he made enough noise on the first 2 days of the Senior Bowl. So Mike Green, he had an excellent week in Mobile. Moving on to the next player I have on here, Jayden Higgins, wide receiver out of Iowa State. He really impressed this week at the Senior Bowl. He's a guy that, although he has a really big size, big frame, 6'3", 217 pounds, he actually has really good yards after catch ability, man. He's really good after the catch. I saw it. I haven't watched his tape fully yet. However, from highlights and clips I've seen from him at Iowa State, and I watched some Iowa State games this year, he has really good yards after catch ability, run after catch ability, and he has pretty good shiftiness. There were times in one-on-ones where he beat the receiver pretty easily with that shiftiness, and he had a really nice touchdown today at the Senior Bowl where it was actually a trick play. 2 running backs for the American side, I'm pretty sure, or the national side, I'm pretty sure, threw a touchdown today. The quarterbacks were pretty bad today at the Senior Bowl. I'm not going to lie. 2 running backs threw a touchdown pass today, one of them being Ollie Gordon, the second running back out of Oklahoma State. He threw that pass to Jayden Higgins, and Jayden Higgins, he did a really nice job of controlling his body and turning back for the ball. A little bit underthrown by Ollie Gordon, which is not really surprising. You have a running back throwing the ball, right? So that's not surprising, but really good job by Jayden Higgins finding the ball there, controlling his body, turning his body around to locate that ball, and he made a really nice catch there. So Jayden Higgins, he's a guy that really impressed at the Senior Bowl this week, and we need a receiver outside of Terry, of course, and we've said this for a while now that we need a receiver with size on this team. Our tallest receiver this past season was Noah Brown and Luke McCaffrey, but both of them are only 6'2". I would like a receiver that's 6'3" or taller, so getting a guy like Jayden Higgins would provide you with that size. He definitely uses his size to his advantage, and it would be nice to get a guy like that across from Terry. So Jayden Higgins, definitely a guy that I could see us targeting in this draft. Next up, I have Shamar Stewart, edge out of Texas A&M. He had a really good week. He is an athletic and physical specimen, man. 6'5", 281 pounds, has like an 83-inch wingspan, which is unbelievable. So he has all the tools to be a really good pass rusher at the next level. He's just pretty raw right now, and his production at Texas A&M wasn't great. Was at Texas A&M for 3 years and put up 1.5 sacks each and every season, right? So that's not amazing production right there out of a D end. However, he showed flashes at Texas A&M, and he showed that he can be a really good edge rusher at Texas A&M in the next level. And this week at the Senior Bowl, he looked really freaking good, man. He showed off his burst off the line of scrimmage. At times, during like one-on-ones and 11-on-11s, he was beating tackles with pretty much ease, like pretty easily, right? So Shamar Stewart, he looked really good this week. What are the chances he falls to 29? They're probably slim right now, not going to lie. I think I see him going top 20, and things could change, from now until the draft. So we'll see how his stock, changes. However, as of right now, I don't see him falling to us as very realistic, because I think he had a really good week at the Senior Bowl, and even before the Senior Bowl, he was viewed as like a top 15 or top 20 or top 25 pick in the draft. So I think the Senior Bowl just raised his stock, which is why I have him in this video, because he was a major standout at the Senior Bowl this week. So if he were to make it in like the mid-20s or at 29, which is our pick, definitely a guy that I would consider picking, and I feel like that's a guy we could definitely go after in this draft if he ends up falling in our range, right? So Shamar Stewart, he balled out at the Senior Bowl this week. Next player I have on here is Walter Nolen, D tackle out of Ole Miss, and I feel like most fans can agree that D tackle is somewhat of a need for us, the Commanders, right? So we just did not get enough out of our D tackles this year, and we haven't over the past 2 years, really, obviously with Payne and Allen. And this year, Johnny Newton didn't really do a whole lot. Still have a lot of confidence in him, but I will like to see more out of him next year, of course. And John Allen, Daron Payne, especially Daron Payne, we just did not see a lot from them this season, and really over the past 2 seasons, we haven't seen enough from them, right? So we do need to make some changes at the D tackle position, and we may consider drafting Walter Nolen in the first round. He is honestly, you could say, probably the second best D tackle in this draft class. I know Mason Graham is probably number 1. He's probably going to go top 5, maybe probably at least top 10, but maybe even top 5, right? Who would the second best D tackle be? Honestly, it might be Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State, but Walter Nolen, man, he is one of the best D tackles in this entire D tackle draft class. This D tackle draft class is absolutely stacked, man, and Walter Nolen definitely helped raise his stock this week at the Senior Bowl, man. He showed great speed, great power, man. Like, he was bulldozing old linemen, man, bulldozing guards, man. Like, he looked really freaking good, man. Had some really good pass rush moves as well. By the way, shout out to everybody that went to the Senior Bowl. I didn't, but people who posted clips out there, I saw all the clips online on social media, right? So I got to see, which guys really stood out. And Walter Nolen, man, in those clips, he was really, really standing out, man. So that's a guy, if we decide that, D tackle, we need to kind of revamp the room a little bit, not fully revamp it, right? Because there's still some talent in the D tackle room. However, we just need to make some changes and upgrades at that position. Then Walter Nolen is definitely a guy that I could see us considering taking at our pick, which obviously we have pick 29. So definitely a guy I could see us targeting in the first round. And then the last guy I want to talk about is Xavier Restrepo. He had a really good week this week, in my opinion, at the Senior Bowl. He's 5'9", 200 pounds, so not the biggest guy, right? Pretty short, but he is a really good slot option, and he was a really good slot option at Miami. They lined him up outside at times, but to me, he would be a very, very good slot option in the NFL, and we need to add more weapons to JD's arsenal. That's not a debate. All fans can agree on that, right? We need to add more weapons around Jayden Daniels. We need to build around JD5, and getting a legit slot receiver or wide receiver 3 in a guy like Xavier Restrepo in the draft would be a really good option for us, in my opinion. He's pretty quick. He's more quick than fast, so, he doesn't have the greatest speed in the world. However, he is pretty quick, especially off the line of scrimmage. He's a really good route runner, in my opinion. Probably the best route running receiver this week at Mobile, you could say. And he just knows how to get open. He knows how to find open space. He knows how to get open, and finding a guy like that in the slot who is really quick and is a really good route runner. And also, he didn't drop the ball much at Miami, which is obviously really good, right? So he put up over 1,000 yards in this past season at Miami as well. So getting a guy like Xavier Restrepo to be our slot receiver / third option at receiver, I feel like would be a really good addition for us through the draft. And obviously those guys aren't the only guys to stand out as well. There were a bunch of other guys that stood out during the week as well. You have Tez Johnson, receiver out of Oregon. I thought his speed really showed out at the Senior Bowl this week during practices. He's a pretty small guy, 156 pounds, so I feel like he got to get up to like 166 or 170, because 156 pounds, that is pretty light, right? That's pretty light. I know Xavier Worthy, he weighed in at like 165 last year at the Combine. If Tez Johnson can just get up to that, then I feel like that would be really good for him, because 156, that's a little crazy to me. I'm not going to lie. That is a little crazy to me, but he is a pretty solid route runner, at least from what I saw from the Senior Bowl, and he has really good speed. Like I said, his speed and explosiveness off the line of scrimmage really showed out this week. You have guys like Azareye'h Thomas, Florida State DB. He showed out this week in practice. He made a couple nice plays in coverage. You also have Ole Miss DB Trey Amos. He showed out in coverage a bit as well. And then Landon Jackson, thought he had a really good game today at the Senior Bowl. He had a forced fumble on the quarterback, beat the left tackle quite easily, and got there in the backfield, strip sack. I thought he had a really good day today at the Senior Bowl. So those are the guys at the Senior Bowl this week that I feel like could be very realistic draft targets for the Commanders in this year's draft. So that is it for today's video. Hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're not already subbed up, and turn on notifications. Comment down below which guys you feel like stood out at the Senior Bowl this week that the Commanders could target. And other than that, it's been King Sean, and I'm out. Peace.